let's pivot.
I
So
guess
Dorcas spending,
Alicia.
yeah.
Yeah, let's pivot to
Oh, we're
Alicia
45
for a
minutes
few
later.
minutes.
All
right.
No.
Well,
This
we're
is not even
talkers.
as
What do
long
you
as this one. We've
expect?
had. We're good. We're good.
Oh, Patsy, we've loved every moment of it. So
Yeah.
keep going,
No.
girl. But keep going.
Alicia, I guess for you is you to just tell us kind of what you remember about your mama growing up and some of the kind of lessons you pull from her, things you share with your own kids. Like I said, you're a mama of 5. You definitely
Yes.
made up for being an only child.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So tell us a little bit about what you remember growing up.
Well, that's kind of what, like she said, I don't remember a whole lot. And I don't know why that is. If it's trauma from, I have no idea. There are some, there are windows that I remember. But for the most part, I don't remember a whole lot from, like, I don't remember the little duplex. We talked about that yesterday. I don't remember that. I guess, I don't know how old I was when we moved to 3rd Street in Galena Park. Then we lived in that little 2-story. I remember that. And I remember my little room in the little corner. I remember doing cartwheels and stuff down the living room, but I don't remember. I think there was green shag carpet. Is that right?
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Nice.
And the orange, like it was totally 70s, like orange kitchen. I don't remember.
Yellow and orange.
Yellow and orange. Okay. But like as far as things happening, I just don't have many memories. And again, I don't know why there are certain things, but like, again, it was just one of those things, like, this is just how life is, and I didn't think like, oh, other people live differently than me. Other people live with their dad. Other people live, have 2 people, parents or whatever. And I didn't really comprehend a lot of it. I just kind of went with it, I guess. And then I look back now and I'm like, oh, there are a lot of things. But like, I remember going to Arkansas. We every year of my life, we went up to Mimi's old home place, as they'd say, and like we'd go up there for family reunion every year. And there I had memories. I have memories of like playing with my 2nd, 3rd, whatever, twice removed cousins every year, the few that, because we went up there every year and stuff, and I remember that. But like, it's to say, like, I remember childhood. I just don't. And
So did you spend most of your time going between your mom and dad's? Was it like a regular schedule? Did you spend every other weekend?
Every other weekend.
It was just half your life. Yeah.
Yeah, every other weekend. And whether it was in San Antonio, where they lived next door to Grandma for a very short season. They lived on Britannia over by North Shore Middle School, what used to be North Shore Middle School.
Yes.
Down from y'all. They lived down off of Holly Park. And
hey, listen, Serenels like to move. Okay, we got a gypsy spirit. I think
that's true, and I guess that's where I got.
But we will stay in the same 5-mile radius. We don't leave North Shore until you get older. Then
Yeah, and I went.
That's how y'all could graduate.
It's the
from
stay
the
right
same
there
high school,
from the same school. So I don't even know where to start, even as far as childhood goes.
Yeah.
There are some things like traditions and things that we did. And I'm sure they're because, you wanted to keep, how do you say that? Like, keep things the same for me, and routine and stuff. And so, like, I remember going to church every single time the door was open, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Saturday, Sunday morning, Sunday night, and went, all the things. And that's a whole other podcast right there.
Yes,
Like,
right.
We've
my
just so you know, we've had that discussion on here too.
Yes, we have.
it's a whole
Us
of
too.
the church thing, and there's trauma there too,
Yeah.
and there's, you know, with the church
Yeah.
and the traditions that we were taught, you know, by for whatever reason. And so I think it was only until I was in college that I really started to, as a person, I don't know how else to say that, just as a person, started to analyze things and go like, wait a minute, let me think through this a little bit, you know?
Yeah.
And even like with my grandmothers, my grandparents, my, you know, my grandfather, well, see, I don't even know what to call him because he died when I was 4. My grandpa, granddad. I didn't even
Mimi's
know what to
husband.
call him. Mimi's husband, because I didn't know what to call him. He died when I was, what, 4? I was 4.5 or something when he died, and so I didn't really know him. I have not really a lot of memories of him. And my dad was not around for most of my, you know, growing up years. I went over there every other weekend or whatever, but not like being around for everyday life. And so I only had women in my life for the most part.
Mhm.
I only had, you know, my grandmother, my mom, you know, and even grandma. Like, I didn't get to have a whole lot of time with her because I just wasn't ever over there.
Yeah.
And when I was, it was with everybody and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And so I learned, it really, really shaped me as a person to not like to only have really women around me. And even Mimi's mother, who she died when I was 1 or something like that. I was 1 year old.
About 18 months old.
Okay. But I heard so much about her, like, and who she was. I felt like I knew her, even though I didn't really, you know.
Yeah.
And like, there's so much that I could say about how I interact in the world, how I interact with people, and the strength and the fortitude and the tenacity and all of those things that my grandmothers and that my mother, you know, gave me as an example, as like, this is just how you live, you know.
Yeah.
And I feel like I didn't realize all of those things, you know, until like that when I was in college, and I was like, hang on a minute. Like, all of these things, you know, it kind of grew into that. And so then when I got married, I was like, what is this? Like, how what is this
Listen,
living?
sister, that's all of us. Like,
What is this man?
What is
He's
this,
a
like,
boy.
living with a man? Like, I don't, you know, and he has a whole other kind of way of being, and I'm like, I don't get it. I don't get it.
yeah. If you and Philip got married young, because you got married
Yes, we
before
did.
Dwayne and I, right?
Yes, we
Y'all
got married
in 99, right?
in 99, in June of 99.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. And we were
let's see.
January of 2020. So,
Yeah.
or 2000. January
I was like,
so, yeah, so you're well, half a year. Sorry.
yes,
2000.
half a year, 2000.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of those things, like, when I got married, I was like, this is just what you do. And
Yeah.
he and I have talked about it before too, like, we probably shouldn't have got married to each other, but we're just like, well, we love each other, so I guess that's what you do, you know? Didn't even kind of think like, oh, maybe we should think out our lives, you know, or plan out anything, or none of that, you know?
Because that means you were 24 when you got married, or 20?
I was 20. I was 23.
20.
I was 23 and he was 21.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And it
I
was
forgot
just,
Philip's younger than you. That's right.
yeah, 2 years and 4
Okay.
months. So when we met, I was a senior in high school and he was a sophomore.
Yeah. Wow.
I know.
That's
And
funny.
I was 17 and he was 15 when we met.
Okay. Yeah.
And
And then got married at 21 and 23.
mhm.
See, that feels young, doesn't it?
Yeah, for
Because
sure.
Lily's 22, right? Lily's
She's
20.
22.
Yeah.
She's
Can you
22.
imagine?
No, and she can't either. She's like,
Yeah.
"What were y'all thinking?" I don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. And, we've been around and around about it. It was like, I don't know. It's just that's just kind of the course of action. Was what it was expected. It was what was expected.
Yeah.
it was expected.
Of me. Of him.
Mhm.
It was expected that he would propose, and it was expected that we would get married, and it was just kind of one of those things. And
Yeah.
and I didn't know how to live with a man.
Yeah.
No.
Hey, you're circling. Listen, can we see each other every other weekend? That would be great.
That would be
That works for me.
awesome.
1 month in the summer.
Like visitation. Yeah.
The visitation. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's funny.
But then
I'll
when we
fly
started having
unaccompanied adults and come see you every other weekend. That's fine.
come see
I
you,
know how to
exactly.
do that.
But at the same time, like I was so needy, and so because I didn't have a man in my life at the same time, like I didn't have my dad, I didn't have that. So subconsciously, again, I've done a lot of work since then, but like
Mhm.
subconsciously, I know I was like looking for that father figure, like take care of me, help me, be that person to me. And he's like, I can't be your dad. I can't be that for
Yeah.
you. But I was like, but this is what I need. And so there was this disconnect, like, this is what I need and you can't give me what I need. And then there's something wrong here because I don't know. It was just, again, we've done a lot of work since then,
Yeah.
through the
Yeah, 'cause
years.
y'all been married 25 years. And
25 years this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it's been a long haul for sure.
Yeah.
But as far as when we started having kids, I was only myself. I wasn't with a
Yeah.
lot of other kids. I wasn't around kids, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I mean, everybody doesn't know what they're doing when they first have kids, but
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
never
When they start
really
having
around.
kids, it's like,
I'm like, what is this? Again,
And you had 5 of them.
we had 5 of them.
They do.
And it wasn't
The oldest Lily, like what do they say? Like kids are like pancakes. The first one's a throwaway. That's your experiment. And Lily turned out
I mean,
great. And
but Lily
yeah,
was
your
like
kids are great. Yeah.
Lily was like the poster child, actually. She was like easy peasy. I didn't know what I was doing, and she's like, it's okay. I'll just, she was pretty easy. The pregnancy was pretty hard, but like in the first 3 months or whatever, and then it was easy after that. And I kind of learned as I went, and then Noah came along, and I'm like, first of all, it's a boy. Secondly, I was like, you're different. Like, in so many ways.
Yep.
Completely different kid, completely different pregnancy, baby, everything. And they've all been that way. And
Yeah.
so I think because I learned you just kind of roll with it and you go and you keep on, with each kid, they're all different, all of them,
Yeah.
Well, let me give you a secret to that. It don't
Okay.
matter if it's 11 kids or 3 kids or 5 kids. They're all that way. I promise you. Right, Dorcas?
Yeah.
Yeah. And Lydia's learning that about her 4. Yeah. Whether it's 11 kids or 3 kids.
They're all
So
different.
you've done great,
Yeah.
baby. You've done
And
great.
and then I say after 3
Yeah.
too. After 3,
Yeah.
it's like it's all just chaos, whatever. People say, "Oh, how can you have I only have 2 and whatever." I'm like, look, After 3, it could be 11 or 13. It doesn't
Well, see, I
matter.
said that after
true.
2. I thought the
Yes.
1 to 2 was a hard switch. Like, that was
Yes.
a hard change of mind. But
Yeah.
after 2, it's like you just start throwing them in there, and
Yeah.
it does, after that, it's like
It don't
2,
matter.
5, 7. It doesn't matter. Yeah,
It's
just
true.
the
It's
same,
just
because it's
the
nuts
same
no matter
chain.
what it
For
is.
sure.
You just got to make sure you don't leave with the same amount and come home with the same
That's
amount.
right.
If they're not the same kids, that's okay. Like, just
Yeah. Just count.
equal
Okay.
out the numbers. Yeah.
Look, I can't tell you how many times we got home from church and someone looking around goes, "Where's Alan?" And Brother John had to bring him to the house. Mariana got left in church one night. So,
Oh
like,
no.
it's only when we're sitting around the table and passing out cookies and it's like, oh, somebody got left in church again. So yeah. Yeah. You come home with 5 and you've done real good, girl.
We started a countdown.
Yeah.
When you get in the car, okay, start to count
Yeah.
off, and they count
Yes.
off each other.
Yeah.
Make sure everybody's
Yeah.
there in the car.
Yes.
Yeah, but you know what? I could see that now that we, because I've been thinking a lot lately, especially since we've started, doing this, and then talking to Ariel last week was really kind of insightful for me, because it really made me realize how much we do in childhood, how much it does affect who you are. And I've
Yeah.
always thought you've had that roaming spirit, and it feels like you could just go to Ireland or go to Panama or go wherever, and it's just like y'all just pick up and go. And I'm thinking, there's no way that this type A Martha spirit could just pick up and go to Panama. Nope, not
That's
doing
true.
it. I'm not doing it. Like,
Just
Lord,
so you know,
can
we were all
call?
envious, okay?
Yeah.
I'm thinking, yeah, go to Ireland.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like,
Panama.
I wonder if how much of your upbringing where it's just like you just do. It's like
You
it
just
sounds like a
go.
good idea. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's go, God. Let's just go. Because it's what
Yeah.
your spirit is used to, just going with the flow. Because like I said, it's one of the things we started talking about with Ariel, is that she just talked about her suppressing emotion, and just going along with whatever. And now she doesn't do that as much these days. So it's been hard to adjust, because all of a sudden she's like, she says and does, which I appreciate it now, because, with her now, like, she comes over and says she's not a people person. If she don't want to be there, she'll look at me and she'll go, I'm gonna go. And she'll sleep, and you're just like, okay. And I told her I appreciate that, because at least I know where she stands. You know what I mean? She
Yeah.
doesn't do anything because she feels obligated anymore. Which is what she's always had to do. She's always had to go to her dad's or go here or go there, and didn't matter what she wanted to do. But now she just
Peace out.
yeah, she don't want to do it. So I wonder how much of that bleeds over from your
Well, of
bleeds in a
course.
good way, I guess. Yeah.
No, a lot of it. And I think there's so much. I mean, I could literally write a book about all the things, and not just in my experiences, since I started to kind of realize, just that self-awareness that I never had before. As a teenager, as a kid, as a teenager, even into college, I just was not self-aware. And I don't know when I crossed that line, but when I did, it was like, oh, no wonder I did this, this, and this. No wonder I talked like this, this, and this. No wonder that I felt this way. Because I finally started to realize, as a person, and the things that had happened to me, the things that had happened around me. And I don't know, it just became, and so over the past few years, I've really started to learn, and I see that in other people now, when, again, I could never see that before. And it's been enlightening, but also really hard, again, because just trying to figure out who I am. And then I'm learning that about myself. I need to set boundaries for myself, because before I was like, oh, you just do what's expected, because that was my life. And that's who you are. You just do what's expected, regardless of how you feel about it. You're not allowed to have feelings. You're not allowed to question, to ask questions about your faith. You're not allowed to ask questions of the church. You're not allowed to ask questions of your parents, of your family or whatever. You just take it as it is and you go with it.
Yeah.
And I did not raise my kids that way. And I get a lot of flack for it. Sometimes.
Boy, this. Hey, Gina.
Because a lot of it is, especially with Lily and Noah, when I was homeschooling, I'm like, let's ask questions. It's okay for you obey first and then you can ask me. And then let's talk about it. And let's talk about all of it. And I always told them, like, let's talk about whatever. That's just kind of the way it was, again, because my mother was not allowed to talk about things, was not allowed to ask questions. Correct me if I'm wrong. But you were not allowed to talk. It was not something that you did. And so I was completely opposite. Like, we're going to talk about all of it. Even if it's hard and uncomfortable, let's just talk about it. Let's get it out on the table. And so Lily and Noah especially were more kind of like non-conventional in a lot of things, and just let's talk about it and let's learn and let's figure this out. And we could have debates and we could have talks about this, that, and the other, and we could disagree. And I'm like, that's okay. And they're discovering who they are. And but I think a lot of that had to do with like how I grew up and me going like, hang on a minute, let's talk about it. Let's think about this, in a new light. And
well, I think it can be the thing, because we've talked about growing up in what felt like a legalistic kind of, I don't know, church culture, with mom working at the church and, being obligated like that. And that it felt like for me, and I told mom this, it felt like it was a job. It just didn't feel like it was not. I don't remember dealing and growing up with having that relational with Christ lesson. Like, it should be a relationship with Christ and not a have to be there on Wednesday night for Christ.
True.
Kind of thing.
Yes.
Or you can't dance for Christ, or you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you have to do this, or you're going to hell, or you're doing that. There's just been so many things.
Backstreet Boy concerts.
It was in sync, Mother. If you're
Lydia
gonna,
didn't get to go to anything.
Well, actually, it was New Kids on the Block. If we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right. It was New Kids on the Block,
baby.
because they were secular.
Yeah.
It
was worldly.
Can't listen to 9 Inch Nails or Duran Duran.
Yeah.
It
was just that, and I understand, because you can look at it now, it's because that's how she was raised, and she was raised in the church, and you were raised not to ask questions, and there's not a time now where I question who God is. I don't question who God is. I believe the Bible, and I believe that. Now, there are things where where rules come in, or people say things or whatever that you take and you go, wait, is that God or is that something else?
Yeah.
And that's, or I think
this is not actually in the Bible.
Yeah, that's right.
Is it man?
Or it's not interpreted. It's not. That's not right.
Yeah.
So,
It's
you're
like,
right.
is it there? And it's having the freedom to. I think it's I'm trying to remember her name. Ginger Volo. She's one of the Duggar kids. She separated from that church, and she wrote a book, and it's called like. I think it's called like Detangling. What's talking about, like, she never wanted to get away from who God was because she believed God was right, but it was just untangling what legalism come from that church and what that pastor made up. Because he just made stuff up. But it's not. You don't want to cut ties because you believe God and you believe who the Bible is and you believe in healing and Christ and all that. But I don't believe I have to go and get it from whoever, or do 10 Hail Marys or whatever to get it, because that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says you go straight to God, to get the relationship with him. So there's a lot of that discussion with us. And then it's funny, Dwayne and I even had a discussion yesterday. There's a new documentary coming out that is talking about the church as a business. And he had seen it like Facebook Reels or something, and I had seen it like a 6-part documentary. I think it's coming out in May. I don't even know what it's called, but was talking about the church as a business. And I said to him yesterday that it seems intriguing and I want to listen to it, but there's still this tug of war with me between, God said that Christians are going to be attacked, and you think, is this another attack on Christianity? Is this documentary going to be an attack on Christianity, or is it going to be the light? Because the guy does talk very positively about Christ separately from the business of the church. And I think he's focusing basically on mega churches. And, we had a whole discussion about that. But there is that internal struggle of, do we watch this or do we not watch it as Christians? Or do we not, that don't ask questions?
Yeah.
Should it be a don't ask questions thing?
Yeah. And I feel like
for
part
us?
of me.
And
yeah, I know part of
no,
my thing is, and the way that I've explained it, what I have experienced is, if you imagine like a hoarder's garage, okay, everything is shoved in there. And then what I've been doing with my faith is you pull everything out and pull everything out of each box and be like, what is this? And why is this in here? And do I want it to stay or not? And some things I'm like, okay, that's good, it'll stay. And other things I'm like, this makes no sense. It doesn't match up with anything that I believe or feel about life. And I'm like, it's gone. And and the trending word is like deconstruction, and it's this deconstructing of my faith. And I feel like I have and I have found so many different videos, podcasts, different people, all of our generation that grew up in the Bible Belt, grew up in the Southern Baptist Convention, that grew up in that whole thing, that we all have the same kind of experience just listening to it. And I'm like, oh, somebody else feels this way, and I didn't realize that. And so it's putting those things together for me, that I don't have to agree with them, because some of them are atheists now because they're like, all of it's just BS, but I don't believe that. But at the same time, like, it's this deconstructing of all of it. And so like,
I think that's the word that she said she didn't want to use, was deconstruction, because that's tearing apart. And she was saying, I don't want to tear apart my relationship with Christ. I want to untangle or detangle what the legalism and what is man-made and who God is.
So
and
you
I think
detangle like the Christmas lights, and when they're untangled, they still shine bright.
yes. So what shines bright, and what's broken gets put away. What's wrong and what's not what's unhealthy and what's and the way she said she got there, she had married a pastor, a young pastor who did not grow up in the same church that she grew up in. He grew up, I guess, here in Texas or something, because they had a church here for a while and they're in California now. But she said that every time she would come to him and ask him something, he would hand her the Bible and just say, he didn't push his faith or push his beliefs or push anything. He handed her the Bible and said, show me where God says that. Where God says that, not where it's written on some internet, website. Some guy wrote a book because he was, high on a Friday and decided to make a religion. Where did God say that? And she said that's how she got to the point of getting to her thing. But what did God say?
I like, because the Word of God, the Bible, is your, and Brother John, you say, if you don't, if you don't believe me, look it up in the Word of God. So the Word of God, you want to know, get to know Jesus. Get in the Gospels and get to know Jesus. You want to know, get to know grace and redemption. And like, all that.
I go a little bit further than that. I've gone a little bit deeper than that, even still further out, I guess you could say, because if we want to get to the nitty gritty of it, like, even where did the Bible come from, and what the books, and I don't mean the Greek and all the things, the traditions that came along with that, and even the New Testament, like when he's talking about the Bible is, that it's that God breathes and all of that. He was not talking about what he was actually writing. And whenever in the New Testament, when Paul says, I left my cloak over there, tell Tychicus to pick it up and bring it to me. Like, this is the word of God, and this is, applicable in my life. And I'm like, that it was a letter to somebody else. And so, but as the church tradition has gone, and so this is where I'm at spiritually. I'm like, when I talk about deconstruction, it's like, let's look at the actualness of it. And only like, we get back to the traditions of, like, for example, it's a whole discussion right now in our family. We've had this because we've had a Passover every single year since 2010. In 2010, we went through a Passover Seder, and they showed us all the things, and it blew my mind. I said, how have I never heard of this? I grew up in the church. How have I never heard of this stuff? I know about the Last Supper. I know about all the things and that they said in the Bible, but what was the tradition that went along with the Passover meal? And I had no idea, and it blew my mind, and it was like a bomb went off in my spiritual belief system, because I was like, how is it that we teach these traditions, and we have these things of the Bible and all of that, but yet we don't get back to the root of it even then. And to say that Jesus is the Messiah means that we have to understand our Jewish tradition, that we as a Christian Western culture, we do not understand any of that,
Yeah.
And we get a lot of these belief systems from where? From other people that have taught. And even Brother John, God bless him, as wonderful as he was, and teacher and all the things, but where did he get most of his information? From seminary, which was other men teaching him, from books that had been written, from these commentaries and all these other things that had been written by man. But yet, where's the historic tradition that comes with that? And then on top of that, even the thing that Philip is saying now, like, we had this conversation because Passover is in 3 weeks. It's 3 weeks after Easter this year. And we talked to the church that we're going to and asked if we could have a Seder at the church. And they're like, oh, no, we can't have it here because it's cultural appropriation.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay, that's a whole other, because I'm not Jewish.
Yeah.
But I want to believe this other stuff, but yet I don't know. And so my brain hurts.
Yeah.
As far as, trying to figure out, I don't know what's right. But all that to say, like, I feel like my spiritual walk has obviously my deconstruction, my unraveling, whatever you want to call it, has affected my kids. It's affected my marriage, and not necessarily in a bad way. I feel like I'm way more open and understanding to people and things and ideas, and I want to understand. And I don't know. It's like, I don't even know how else to say that. Like, it's,
Yeah.
it's
Isn't that where
everything.
we're supposed to be, though? I
Yes,
think that's
in
what we're
yes.
called to do, is to
Yes.
love people and to understand and teach our children right from wrong, and teach our children to focus on God. Like I said, if my kids don't go to church, every Sunday, like, I'd almost say I can't care, but I care about whether they're saved. I care about whether they're trying to have a relationship with God. I care about whether they're, doing the right thing and being in the world. That's where I don't know if it's a little less, if it's too flippant, if it's too flippant, but
No.
it's just what I care about.
Yeah.
What I'm going to stress about is whether my kids are they're all saved. Let's see, 2 of the 3 have been baptized. 1 doesn't want to get baptized, but she's saved. It's just, it's the kind of thing I care about, but I don't care if I don't care if she ever gets dipped. I care that she knows God, and I care that every time I talk to her, you say, pray about this, and she's, I know, Mom, I'm praying about it. That's the kind of things I care about, is teaching them to have a relationship and to trust God, and figure that out for themselves, I think.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's probably some of my, like I said, maybe right or wrong, but the thing is it may be right or wrong, but I'll take the hit with that from God and not anybody else. I think it's kind of where I stand now. It's like I will definitely take advice and education and take what I know and take who I know and all that, but I'm not going to feel bad about it anymore.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
I'm not going to live with Catholic guilt. That's for sure.
Yeah. 100%. But I feel like questioning things, and I think that that's such a big characteristic to have. But I agree with you. I feel like it's just our generation of age, do what question things, and it's what it is. It's a holiday. It is what it is because it is what it is, kind of thing. And you just go along with it, and you don't question that. And this is something that because then he said it when he was preaching here, and he was talking about different religions or whatever. And he made a comment that God can handle my questions. But I don't think there's anything wrong with questioning those things, and and at the end of the day, I really know what I believe in, and I don't go to church very often. I own that, and there's a part of me, and this I can't, and so I think, Mom, I know you and I had this conversation on the roof recently or not, I don't know, but there's a part of me that struggles again. But we were always there. You had to go to church. You were just there, there. And I went to church for a really long time. A couple years ago, and you're involved in a lot of different things. But there was a bit of there were fees, that I struggled with. There was a little bit of resentment in that having to be there all the time, Mom, and I'll say this to you.
Yes.
Because Mom was always there. Mom was always there. Mom sacrificed her relationship, I would assume, and not to talk, but us before you, but I would imagine that the time that you had to sit at church took a toll on your marriage, took a toll on your role as a mother, took a toll on all this stuff because Mom was always there. And so there's always just been this kind of a little bit of resentment, And so and because my mother has told me that I have a rebellious spirit, you're gonna I'm not gonna go if I'm not. I don't know where it showed up. It showed up. But I don't do anything that anybody tells me to do. You tell me to do something, I'm gonna do the exact opposite, just to be petty and just to be mean and just because no one's gonna tell me what to do. And so there is that part of me that I know it can have some because my burning bush is not that Lydia go to church yet, but there is that sometimes there's that resentment and the time that we lost because it was such a job and it was all the time.
Yeah. And it was a job. Yes.
But it wasn't
I got paid for that.
No, it was literally a job.
Yeah. So it was a job. And yes, the thing between what is legalism and what is liberty in Christ was not it wasn't preached enough. There was just so much legalism. You're right. When I talk to people today, says, yeah, I used to go to train union, you don't even know how many people my age talk about all those being in church for all these years, doing what we did. I think, like Jesus said, when we get to heaven, that which was wood, hay, and stubble is going to be burned up. And so there's a lot, there's going to be some bonfires, because there's a lot of wood, hay, and stubble. And that was not, and you're right about questioning things like that. Because the Word of God talks about what is legalism and what is liberty. And that's not, we don't want to teach people that because, people wouldn't show up as much as they're
and they wouldn't give their money
to.
Or something.
True. And the point, the truth is that grace covers it all. And the simplicity that's in Christ. And Paul says, I am no longer a slave to the flesh and to the world. I am a slave to Christ in his life. And so, I'm going to agree with y'all. Even my mother would agree with the way we were brought up was just a lot of legalism and legalistic stuff. But what do we do about it now? Well, you know what? The Lord says that which was gold is going to be rewarded, and that which was just wood, hay, and stuff.
And I think that's just one of the things that made us who we are. You know, we all, grew up in the first and we all have our different stuff like that. And they say that's the women that we are. It's the kind of mothers that we're trying to be, the kind of wives that we're trying to be. It's made us all of those things. And it's, to me, that's such a, that sounds cheesy, but it's such a beautiful journey. It really is a beautiful journey to kind of see where we all have ended up. And we all have, especially this, because we're family, have very similar foundational things. And, that we're all so different now. And, obviously, like you said, it's going to affect the way that you're choosing to teach your children to think. It's going to, one, that affects them and how they grow up and when they get married and that thing is going to affect them. It affects you as you continue to grow because they're all young and fabulous. We have a lot of years ahead of us.
Yes,
of course.
Yeah, hopefully you and I too, Patsy.
You too. Yeah.
Prayerfully, I'm thinking, okay,
no, but it's true.
Maybe 15, 20 years, I'll be happy to be 90. Okay.
Yeah.
But a couple of days ago, a couple of days ago, Noah and I were having this conversation because we were talking about Easter, because Easter just passed, right? And Lily and Noah had different parents than the other three kids. The other three have different parents than the older two, because Noah, poor baby, I'm like, I tell him, I'm so sorry. That's all I can say, because he was a kindergartner.
Yeah.
Poor baby. We were in Panama, a kindergartner. And I was trying to be the good Christian mom, Jesus follower that I was meant to be, right? And the kindergarten went to the zoo in Panama, and they did an egg hunt. Well, my son's not going to be in an egg hunt because eggs are not what Easter is about. And so I took the poor boy away from the thing, took him home, and he did not get to experience the egg hunt with his friends in his class. I'm like, what kind of horrible person am I that I felt like this was the right thing to do, when I'm like, poor kid just want to hunt eggs and eat candy. And I'm just like,
some dang jelly bean.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so, jelly bean. Yeah, go get a jelly bean right now. It's on clearance.
My poor baby. And I'm like, Noah, I'm so sorry. And they all started.
So
well, do you remember when I
started on Halloween?
Exactly.
Halloween dances, all the stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
All the things. And I was like, I was being the good mom that I was like, I'm sorry.
But you know what? That's funny is because I think that Mariah had a wildly different mom than Cody had.
Yeah.
My friend Tammy was talking to us, and she had 4 girls, the older 2, and then there was some space in the younger 2. So the older 2 are significantly older than the bottom 2, who are the same age as my girls. So her daughters and my daughters are best friends and grew up together. Their birthdays are like 2 in August and 2 in October. They're all right there. And they all had she's like, they did not have the same mother at all.
No.
Yes.
The older 2 are just like, what is happening? So that's that's universal. It's called growth.
Yeah.
So you're welcome. I grew too.
Are you a little bit more
it's good to know.
As a mother, Alisha, now are you a little bit more like whatever than you were with the older 2?
Oh,
yes.
100%.
You let Cora go on freaking Easter egg hunts?
Of course I do. And I let her dress up for Halloween, and I let her be on the iPad. And
poor Lily and Noah.
She's 9 years old, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I just, I'm like, there are some things I'm going to put my foot down, obviously. You learn how to do, but other things, it just doesn't matter. And, have fun and be,
And our kid is tired. And then just Easter, I'll be like, I have the candy.
Yes. Oh, 100%. 100%.
Yeah, and that's one thing I said about
Okay.
She never
What,
let
Pat?
me play. She never let me do Santa Claus with the kids.
None of my kids. No, we didn't have Santa Claus. No, none of
Yeah.
my kids have
Well,
ever.
you know,
Santa
ate
Claus is not
rice
real
with
because your
grandma.
parents give you the
Yeah.
gifts, not some crazy fat man that comes into your house in the middle of the night and like leaves. That's so creepy. That's so creepy.
Yeah.
We did not do Santa. No.
Okay. Well,
well,
No, but
our
Cora.
message was Santa was the fun part, but Jesus was the real reason for the season.
Oh,
Wow.
okay.
Hey,
Okay.
just you know what?
Yeah.
Noah and Lily can work it out in therapy when they're
Yeah.
when they're
Yeah.
And
adults.
he
It's
is.
fine.
He actually is.
yeah.
He's
Yeah.
actually working it
Well,
out.
you know
Oh,
the
that's
the
so
one
funny.
solid thing, and I'll agree with the legalism, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm sorry I didn't let you go see the Backstreet Boys or whoever it was.
New kids on the block, mother.
New Kids on the Block. Is that
But
not
like, if I'm an
Walmart?
adult with adult
Is that
money
the
now, they
Walmart?
still tour. I'll just go. I'm fine with
But-
it.
Yes,
I'm over
they
it.
do.
Yeah, but
I have a job. It's fine.
I think at our age, when we're where we are, we're knocking on death's door, yeah, got one foot in the grave here.
Stop it. Stop it.
What is solid, absolutely solid, is I want you to know that Jesus is Lord, and he was crucified and he rose again. That's what I want you to know. I want you to know about the grace of God and God's love and his grace and his goodness and his kindness. But he is a righteous God, and that we come to him through his son Jesus Christ. I love the Old Testament. We're studying the Old Testament. It is absolutely the New Testament revealed. The Old Testament reveals the New Testament. So there are things that I agree. I should have let you go to the concert, baby.
Thank you.
And all.
That's all I wanted
but,
to hear.
That's fine.
Thank you for the validation.
But there's some
You
rock.
confess it.
There's some rock solid things that I want you to know, and I want you to walk in his love and his forgiveness and his mercy.
And
And
then
that
other times
you come
isn't
to
pity.
him.
This road trip is delicious.
That's right.
But I just
Go
understand
ahead.
if
Yes.
that's all you ever take and that's all you ever teach your kids, I feel like that's enough. Like, I
Yes.
feel like that's enough. That's enough, because just having that foundational, just walking in that, keeping it simple,
Yes. Yes.
that will spread God's love. That'll teach other people about God. If you're
Yes.
living that way, it's an example. Just that simple. Just that simple. When you,
Yes.
it's when we, I was going to say muck it up, but I want to make sure y'all understand.
Yeah.
I said muck it up. That when you mess it up like that with your own ideals or all the extra stuff, that's when it gets messed up. And
Yeah,
that's
it
when
does.
you
Yeah.
make it harder than it has to be. I just don't think God was real complicated about what he intended us to do.
So because grace plus anything else, any kind of work, any kind of legalistic, whatever, is no longer grace. Grace is free and simple, and that's it. Salvation comes by grace through faith, and anything else. I mean, whether you want to say, well, you have to be baptized, you have to go to church, you have to do all these things that we grew up doing. We have to be there on Wednesday night. We have to be there on Sunday night, or because the door's open, or you have to be on Tuesday night for visitation. Oh God, I hated that. But grace plus anything else is no longer grace. It becomes work, and it becomes legalism. So, but grace, let me tell you this: grace changes you. And so, anyway, ask your questions, deconstruct it, sister, deconstruct it.
Deconstruct
Always go back.
Yeah.
Always go back to who Jesus is and the grace of God. Yeah.
Well, but I feel
Go
like
ahead. I'm through.
Go ahead, Alisha.
so no, I feel like where I'm at too, as far as I have been changed. I don't need to be changed anymore. I've been through trauma. I've been through all the
Yes, you have.
experiences in my life. Like I change every single day, and it's not because I need to be changed. It's not because I'm not, because I'm learning that I'm okay just like I am, and I don't need to,
Yeah.
I don't need to
Absolutely.
do, because what I learned growing up in the church is I'm not okay the way that I am. I'm not okay to just be myself, because I have to be this other person that of what is expected
Yes.
of me. I have to be this I have to learn what it's like to be a wife, to be a mother, to be a this, that, or the other, that here are your expectations. And if you don't meet them, then you're going to go to hell, or you're going to, be whatever. And even like the whole purity culture thing is a whole other thing, learning that I didn't learn about my body from my mother. We never talked about any of it. And so I had no idea, like, the way my body is supposed to function and what I'm supposed to, how am I supposed to be with my husband, and what's supposed to happen. I didn't know, because it's not something that you ever talked about. And if you
Right.
did, even, and it affected my marriage in that now we've been married for 25 years and 5 kids later, but at the same time, like, through that time,
It's like
that was a
you
whole other
figured
thing.
something out.
Well, yeah, we totally figured it out. But
Yes.
but that's the point,
But,
is
but
like,
as long as you realize that that's the way we were brought up, you didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
You know?
yeah,
Because we didn't either.
And
We
so
didn't talk about it.
we didn't.
No.
I
Nope,
told
never
you
had a
don't have
conversation.
sex, and you told me,
Yeah.
Mom, I'm going to have sex if I feel like it. When I want to,
Yeah.
if I feel like it. Wait a minute.
Look
wait,
at me.
Let me tell. Look at me. Talk to me.
wait,
And that was it. Don't have sex before marriage. That's what
Yeah,
we
that
said,
was the
right?
conversation.
Patsy, we didn't tell you how it worked. We didn't tell
Yeah.
you what to expect.
Yeah.
We just said don't do it till
Well,
you got married.
Well, that's true, but also part of that is not understanding what was happening in my own body. And like,
Sure.
if you want to do that, like, it's not okay. So what I learned was suppress your flesh, because your flesh is bad. Suppress any feelings that you may have as a human, as a teenage girl or whatever. Like, you turn it all off, and you're not allowed to feel those things, because they're all evil. Sex is bad. You're going to be a chewed up piece of gum. If you have sex before marriage, you're going to be this, piece of trash that nobody's going to want. And that's that whole purity culture. That's what I learned in church.
I never told you what happened.
I didn't say
No,
you told me
that's
that.
not a mother thing.
No, it's not a
No,
mother thing.
that's
It's a
purity.
culture thing.
Yeah,
It's the
it's a
purity
culture thing.
culture. But
Mhm.
because my mother did not talk about any of it, because y'all didn't talk about it, I had no idea. And I had
Yeah.
to figure it out as I go. And then even into my marriage, I'm like, wait a minute, what am I supposed to feel? And then it felt wrong, even into my
Yes.
marriage. It felt
Yeah.
wrong, because in my brain, it's all bad. It's all wrong. It's all
Yeah,
bad.
say that, growing up in the same thing, obviously, I figured it out at 19 with Mariah and Ariel, figured it out. But there was a point in time that right after Dwayne and I got married, our church was having a seminar, and it was women only. There were no pastors there, no male figures. There was one guy who was the sound guy who had to be there, and he's in the very back. It was all women, and it was
Is
put
this
on by
First
a group.
Humble?
Yeah, it was First Baptist in
Yeah.
Humble, and it was a massive conference. And it was right after we got married. It was very early on in our marriage, and I'm trying to think of the name of it, because it was phenomenal about what they talked about Christianity and what God intended for your body and what God intended that about. And it was the most open I had ever heard anybody be, and it was in the sanctuary. I mean, they held it in the church, and it was not overtly graphic or perverted or anything like that, but it was very honest, and that is probably the saving grace for our marriage, because that's never been, close your ears, Mom, that's never been an issue in our marriage, because I just learned it very on, and for me it was like, oh, I get it. They talked about the science of men and what men need, and the science of women and what women need, and how it goes. And it's that's just somehow by the grace of God that has never been a struggle or something that I've dealt with. And I had the same upbringing, the same thing. Because honestly,
Yeah.
after I had the kids, you grow up in that culture and then you have a kid and you think, oh, well, I'm done now. I'm cooked. I'm a huzzy, labeled, 2 kids,
Yeah.
and it's never going to be fulfilling and I'm never going to find anybody. And it's never, there's a lot of shame going into a marriage because I wasn't married to the girl's dad. So there's the shame of going into a marriage when you're not pure and you really shouldn't have worn white at your wedding, but you did anyway. And you have, a white dress with 2 kids.
It's a really pretty picture that y'all have, first off.
It's really, yeah.
We were
The
so
kids were
cute.
super cute.
Oh, they were so cute at our wedding. But there's a lot of shame that goes into that. And it
Of
really
course.
was that that one conference that saved that shame and that issue and that thing. There's probably and if you could probably, now he'd be mad I was talking about it and he could probably hear me. He's probably laid in there dying. But it's just he would honestly come in here and say it's never been an issue in our marriage. As a man, he would be able to say, that's not a problem for us because I just learned it.
Yeah, really.
Especially,
That's
why she's
awesome.
looking so good at 48, y'all. Look.
You gotta be teaching that. You need to have your own seminar for young mothers and young wives. And
To find that, because it was really phenomenal. I don't even know if it's still around or if they still do it, but it was, like I said, it was just really, they talked about the purity culture and what it means and really what the Bible says about marriage and, using that, I don't know what the word is, but just what it should be or how beautiful it can be.
Yes.
And I have often thought I really would like to find out. There was another girl that I had talked to and she was a young married and had told her about that. I think she ordered the book or something like that. She had found the book. And actually come back and was like, oh my God. Yeah, I know. It's great. If I think about it, I'll try to reference this in the episode notes or whatever, but
in the blog.
Yeah, it was
I'll
in
put
the
it
blog.
in the blog. Yeah.
Mom will
But
write
in the
a blog
episode
about
notes, there's
sexy
a
time.
reference.
Christianity, sexy time.
Yes.
Yes, there we go.
I dare you,
There's
Mom.
what we didn't need to hear.
Yeah.
But
Well, my mother
that
did
goes
have
back
11
to-
children, okay?
Yeah.
11, okay?
But I think that going back to who we are as women, I think that one of the
Yeah.
things now that I'm
Well,
married,
as Christian women,
yeah,
let's just
especially
put that there. What's the
unfortunately, like I made decisions when I was younger, and I was not, and I'm, whatever. I was not a virgin on my wedding night, unfortunately, and those were decisions. But that was under the blood. You tease and stuff with that, so it's fine. But I think that those are things that make us who we are as well. Because again, you're raised in the thing, whatever. They don't. Those things like when you say that I'm healing, and as an adult, I'm very fortunate, and I've I don't know about I'm going on trying to say it's like. And so this is who we are as women. I feel like when it comes to sex, whether you believe in God or you don't, I believe that God did all this and He made all this and He made us and He's He did us perfectly, men and women, to do things.
Yeah.
There's a different reason why I made it to feel good. There's a reason that God said this is going to be pleasurable and He's going to bless it, between a husband and wife and whatever.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that as I got to know God more, understandings like that started a little, especially when you look at something like, she seems to say, you do something before you get married, it changes. It changes the way that you look at it, at least for me, like after you get married. It's just God made it to feel good. Made it to be fun. God made it, to have this intimacy between husband and wife. And it's a visual bit of a fit. Because God intended for it too.
Yes,
If it was
because
boring,
He
nobody
did.
would do it, and there would be nobody else on the planet. And I get that's something that we don't talk about as one. We don't talk about that as a family. Obviously, this is a very odd and weird conversation. I mean, having in front of my aunt and my mother, but it is what it is. We have a bigger platform than just us. But I think as women, we just not just talk about that stuff and being able to have intimate conversations about it with other women. And I think because there's going to be other women out there who they're ready to talk about it. You don't do it, and that's it. What was that? But
And that's what I
I
need.
have a rebellious spirit.
to just talk
until
about
it's
it.
time to, and then of course it is a gift from God. It's His perfect gift. But just like anything God gives us, Satan wants to pervert it and turn it into something that God never intended for it to be. So you're right, Dorcas. That conference you're talking about really needs to be. You really do need to get us that information. Cause
Yeah, I'll figure it out. I'll try to remember what it was,
Yeah.
but yeah, it was good. It was good.
Okay.
And I would highly recommend anybody. Like I would send my girls. Like they actually had a two-part section. They had one for people who weren't married. They had a whole time that was separate than the people who were married. But I would say that it would be good for anybody to hear and understand it, because then you have the choice of understanding. Of course, if I believe that God intends for it to be in marriage, but I understand why now, why, not just don't do it till you get married.
Yeah.
But now I understand the why and what it was created for and what it can be in the scope of marriage, how fantastic and wonderful and blessed it can be within the marriage covenant. I get it now.
Yeah.
Didn't get it when I was 20,
I agree.
but I get it now.
Yeah.
But that
For
also
me-
encompasses people who were victims of childhood abuse. That
Yeah.
it distorts. That absolutely distorts your view of what God intended
Yeah.
for marital intimacy. So that conference could clear up some issues in that also. So
Yeah.
that's good. So thank you, Alisha, for thank you for sharing that. Absolutely. So just keep on questioning, girl. Because that's
Let me
important.
ask you this, Alicia.
Okay.
Who are you outside of mother, wife? 'Cause you have 5 kids. You've been married for 25 years. Who are you outside of those labels? Or who do you
Artist.
want to be?
I'm an artist. So
You're a fantastic photographer. If nobody's ever told you that.
Yeah.
You're
Thank
very
you.
good.
And
Yeah.
this is something that I
You're welcome.
did not realize about myself. I just did things again because but I had in 2016 someone asked me, and I thought, why has that never been asked that or thought of it myself? But someone said, like, do you feel like you see yourself as an artist? And I had never felt that way. I'd never seen myself that way before.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, now I do. And I know I am a creative. Even though I've always been pretty, how do you say it, like left-brained, not creative brain, but at the same time, like it's there, that I just didn't tap into it, so that's one.
Yeah.
You've always been.
I feel the same way.
And
Yes.
Just like I always think about like how lovely like your contrast was. Do you remember like how lovely and just out of the box your contrast was? It was like, I don't even know how to describe it. It was like, how would you describe your contrast? Because I think about stuff like that, and then when I think about you, I think about how bohemian and you're just like Mother Curtis thing. You just do your thing, and but there's beauty in it. But it's the simplicity,
Absolutely.
that not everybody can pull off. I mean. You always had those great qualities. You've always been an artist.
Yeah.
She's a bohemian artist.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's definitely bohemian.
Yeah.
Because not everybody can pull that off.
I was not
That's
about to
right.
go to prom and bling like everybody else. I was like, I ain't doing it.
I'm going to need a picture of you in your prom dress for the blog page, for the page on that.
Okay.
Because I don't know how to describe it. Like, you was just
There's a picture
beautiful.
We walked
of me
into
and
a
Carly.
thrift store, and it was just there.
Say again, Patsy. I didn't hear that.
We walked into a thrift store on Uvalde, and that dress was made for her.
Yeah.
The same, she's short. It was same, perfect. Everything about it was perfect. $35.
Yeah.
Oh my
Nice.
goodness.
And I'd already bought her a brand new one, and she didn't want that one.
Yeah.
So we went thrifting, and she found that one that was perfect.
Yeah.
No, that's what I
Doesn't
think
make you
about when I
happy?
think about you.
Does
Yeah.
that make you happy, Alicia? To know
Yes.
that, man, it's legendary, girl. It is.
It's
Um,
legendary.
so the
It's
same question to
lovely.
you, Patsy. Who are you outside of that label of wife and mother?
I think outside of all that, of course, I have insecurities like everybody. But outside of all that, I think I am a empathetic, caring soul.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I see that.
Yeah.
I feel that.
And some of my kids won't say I do that, but I think I listen well, and I see their inner self, their thoughts, even when they're barking and whatever and one thing.
Yeah.
But I can see what their spirit really is and what's saying
Yes.
to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I probably missed my calling. Maybe I should have been a psychologist or something. I don't know. But
Well, just for the record, there's still time.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, one of the things that started us on doing this was one thing I had heard last year is that Martha Stewart didn't start her business till she was 50. And I was like, shut your face, because I am 48. And it's coming off of,
Wrong.
but it's coming off of, not having the kids growing up and moving out. So I'm not even 50 and all three of my kids have moved out now, so it's like, what am I supposed to be doing? And the
Yeah.
whole premise of this podcast come because for a year before I was thinking about it, not doing anything with it, but thinking about it. And then the same thing with, Lydia and Mom. It's like we've all got these things that we're like, who are we outside of these roles? And I mean, Mom thinks she's a painter and yoga instructor.
Oh, I
She
am.
ain't taken yoga yet, but she
I
is
mentioned the
one.
painting that
I definitely see you in the painting and the creative side of you. Definitely.
Yeah. Yeah.
yes, it's
She's a
there.
yoga instructor
She's
painter.
in here somewhere.
Well,
It
all
may have to
yoga
be
is
the
is
chair
breathing, so
yoga.
you can.
It's,
All yoga
I
is
know.
breathing, so you can totally do that.
yes.
Yeah, see?
And you're supposed to bend and get down on the floor and stretch.
So she's going to be a chair yoga.
Hey,
chair yoga,
still yoga.
which is all the big deal nowadays. It's that's just a retake on that old PBS show that said "Sit and be
Sit and
fit."
be fit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So,
yes, somewhere in here there's a yoga instructor. So yeah, but
So it's not
To think about that, like what are you supposed to be? Did I miss the calling? Did
Yeah.
I miss what God intended for me? Those are very deep,
Yeah.
profound questions, and
Yeah.
I'm
There-
not sure.
There is no
anything.
dot.
Yeah.
There is no dot. There is no here's what I
Yeah.
was supposed to. You
yeah,
just
it's not
are.
a period at all. Yeah.
No. You
Yeah.
just are. You are what you are, and you are what you're going to be tomorrow, and you are, and
Yeah.
you don't have to. And I think that's one thing I did learn. Like, you don't have to worry about like my purpose, my calling, what I was supposed to do. You're doing it. You're doing it. You're breathing. You're,
Yeah.
And if you want to do something different, you can
do it.
pivot. And I think that's, especially, hearing about grandma dying at 68. And I think, okay, God, if I have 18 years, if I've had 18 years left, what do I want to do with those 18 years?
Yeah.
And not to be, cheesy or whatever, but it's like, the kids are great. They're doing great. I want to, my priorities, even with work and everything I've done with work, it's like, I'm going to work and I'm going to give you 100%. Am I going to lose my mind and fight for a title and fight for more money and no, I'm not, because I want to come home to Dwayne and I want to hang out and I want to go camping and I want to see my kids. And, it's like, what do I want to do? And in between then, now I want a podcast and
Yes.
I want to talk to women.
Yes.
And which is a ridiculous thing for us to do. Like, this is just so dumb for us to even think we can do this. But I'm
you're
coming
doing
home.
it,
I'm
and that's a
coming
great
hard after
idea.
those
It's
Kelsey brothers. Okay,
amazing.
I'm coming for that
Yes.
number one spot.
But it's
Going hard after-
conversation. I think more than anything, it's
Yes.
just conversation
Yeah.
and being with
Yeah.
people. Like we used to
Yeah.
have, as a culture, we used to have conversations all the time.
Yeah.
But now we don't talk to people
Yes.
anymore.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we're too busy
That's
on our
what
I
I
phones.
used to do when they had
We're too
quilting.
busy looking at TikToks,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. But I started my photography business. I was like, I've obviously taken photos for decades, but I was not until this last recently that I was like, you know what? I deserve to make money doing this. And so I started a business, and I'm like, I have a photography business now, and I'm working through that and learning how to run a business, which I don't know anything about, and I'm learning. I'm learning how
Google it,
to
girl. Google it.
Well, no, I'm learning from an expert. I'm in a coaching program where it's like specifically about Photography Business Institute, and where I'm learning
Nice.
like how to do it properly and to really
Yes.
be profitable and to make money doing it, because I love doing it. And so I'm like, I'm doing it. So it's like that. I was stepping out and like, I'm tired of just sitting, waiting and waiting and waiting and just, oh, well, everything else is about my kids, and I have a long way to go before my kids are out. Like, Cora is 9,
Yeah.
I'm like, I have a long way to go, but I'm like, I'm starting now.
Yeah.
If not now, when?
And I think
Because
that's
you don't have to wait. You
No.
don't have to wait no more.
No.
Today is
But
the day.
alongside that, I think you need to also write because your writing is so good, and you need to write a book or a
Yes.
book of
So
feelings.
I do have a
Yeah,
book in
trauma
me.
sells, girl. Trauma sells.
My book. So it's interesting that you guys are doing this podcast about this, because I have it written. I could show you. Like last year, I wrote already the title. I haven't got the rest of it done yet. But the title of my book is The Strength of My Foremothers. And I
Oh
don't
my
mean
goodness.
four mothers. I mean like forefathers, my foremothers.
Yeah.
And that's
I'm in love with it already.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going, oh
Yeah.
my goodness, get busy, girl. Get busy. So
Well, and that's one of the things we talked about with Mom, is that we want her to write the blog post so every week she needs to write a blog post about whatever's on her heart after this episode's about the episodes and all that, because she likes to write. She's good at it. I'm not good at it. I'm going to put it in Chat GBT and let that thing write it for me. Okay. I'm not doing it myself.
that is
I'm
not
letting
from
AI
the
write
heart.
So she keeps telling me, I'm like, well, if it's up to me, because I wrote 4 LinkedIn posts today in 5 minutes at work because I didn't want to write.
I didn't want to write.
But it's what your gift is and what your love is, and it's never too late. I think that's what I'm trying to teach myself moving forward, is that it's never too late. We're still alive. We've these women have sacrificed. Grandma I would give anything for her to be around today. And I keep saying her and Mariah would be like thick as thieves, man. We would have to get them out of jail. Like, we would have to pay bail for them. They would be in so much trouble. It would just be phenomenal. So if I've only got 18 years, I want to spend it with my kids, with my family. I want to spend it doing this, talking to people, and I don't want to spend it on my phone and and all that. So I really do think we've got to, if that's something that comes from this, is that people just need to step outside of their comfort zone, because I'm not comfortable doing this,
Yeah.
Me and Lydia have been round and round because we haven't put anything out yet.
Hey,
as of this, we have not posted anything. And we have a date in mind. And I told them from the very beginning, that I'm just going to post it. I'm not even going to tell them about it. I'm just going to launch it. And because that's why I'm here. I'm here to help just get things done, because I will go out on a ledge a little bit more than they will and just kind of figure it out. And I said this in the past episode, and it wasn't high original. I don't want to take credit for it, but like when I was doing some of my side hustle stuff, one of the women's, like an ebook that I bought about doing something, about writing ebooks. Like, she was teaching me how to write ebooks about things. And she made the comment, better published than perfect. And that's something that I kind of keep in my head at work and with everything else we do, that there's this, I think as women, we're very perfectionist, and what makes me perfect, do we care about what other people think and all this kind of stuff. And so when we decided to do this, I really just kind of better publish than perfect. And if it's not perfect, that's okay. And the sound, like whenever we were doing the first couple episodes, the sound isn't perfect. And that part of me
The
who
content
is
is
worried
good.
about what people think. The content's great. Like, I'm funny.
This was
They're
it. I
funny. We're
I
funny.
listened to the first 4 episodes twice last week, and I just felt myself like, we're funny.
Yeah.
We think we're funny. You know?
Well, we're having fun anyway.
Yes. And
Well,
You know
somebody
what
else
this
thinks we are.
reminds me of?
Yeah.
This reminds me of this book that was on the bestseller forever. And I don't remember what the title was, but it was this guy that went and interviewed, he went and had lunch with this like 90-year-old man. Lunch with
Mhm.
Arthur, I think it was called, or
Or
something
Lunch
like
with Maury? Was it Lunch with Maury?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
they just had conversations once a week and wrote a book about it.
Yeah.
And
they
he
made a
talked about
movie.
how,
Yeah.
Oh my
they
goodness.
had a movie about it too?
Tuesdays with
I think it
Maury.
did. Yeah, Tuesdays with Maury. That's what it was. Yeah.
And he talked about how it changed his life, just those
Yeah.
conversations
Yeah.
once a
Mhm.
week.
True.
So
Yeah.
maybe I'll teary out. So this change our lives, you know. Change
Well,
other
that's just
people's
it.
lives, maybe.
That's
you
just
know.
it. If
It's
nobody
shove
else
it,
ever
shove it.
listens to it, we have it on tape for us, and we have it on tape for our children.
Yeah.
I think is what kind of
Yes.
the really
Yeah.
the premise is. And the goal is to eventually get people to trust us enough to strangers talk to us. About their relationships and their mothers. But if nothing else happens, it's at least this for us. And it's been fun. It's just been
Yeah.
fun. I told you, it's 10:15, y'all.
We're
Oh
3
my
hours
goodness.
into this
3
thing, guys.
hours and it came in. Can you believe it? You
I
said
know we
we'd
may have
get
to have
lost.
a Patsy and Alicia part 1,
Two-part
Patsy and Alicia part
series.
2. Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
That's
Yeah.
what we're going to have to do.
That's
Yeah.
supposed to be a 2-parter, but
Yeah, 'cause I don't even think we scratched the surface, have we?
No,
no,
I don't
You know?
I
think
don't
we
even
No.
No,
think so.
I don't think
I
we
never
have.
think so.
No, we're not through talking about Connie, are we?
We're
No.
talking about
Ourselves
Clarice.
and
Clarice.
You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mimi.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
Mm.
Mimi.
Yeah.
I saw a
So-
picture last night I'd never seen of Mimi. It was
Yeah.
taken in 1927, and she was in a skimpy little bathing suit.
Ooh,
Yeah.
scandalous. Ooh, that's
Yeah.
a scandal.
Like that.
yeah. Well,
Oh my
I love
goodness.
stuff like that. Well, one
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
favorite
This
pictures of
is-
Annie, Mom's mom, is one of those ones she's sitting like she's got like little shorts on and little
I mean,
things.
like
She's sitting
short
on a
shorts. Like,
yeah, she's sitting. You can tell she's black and white. You can tell she has a wear this big, and like she's sitting there. I think she's got like a beer in one hand and a cigarette in the
and a
other.
cigarette in the other.
And I've never wanted to party with somebody so hard than I did my grandmother in that photo. Like, I want to be in the lake with her on a picnic blanket,
Yeah.
drinking beer and smoking a cigarette with my grandma. And our mothers
But I
and
feel like this
grandmothers
is-
were wild.
Yeah, and I feel like this was again part of what made my business and my photography thing is because of who Mimi was, right?
Yes. Yes.
Get over there and let me take your picture kind of stuff. And she
Yeah.
took pictures of everything and it's like I don't have memories, but I have pictures.
Yeah.
Because she took
We all
so
do.
many. I don't have any memories when I was a kid, but I have
Yeah.
pictures. And
Yes.
Yeah.
You do.
and I'm like so grateful. And so this is like this is part of my I don't know, my purpose and my
Your
business
legacy.
is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
to give that to other people.
Yeah.
Give that to other people. Take pictures with your families. Take pictures. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
if your hair is messed up and you feel fat and I want to lose 10 pounds and I want to, whatever. Your kids don't care. Your kids don't care what you look like. They just want to see you with them. And like,
Yes.
we went to Fiesta, Texas during spring break, the kids, and there were so many times I ran over to take the mom's phone out of her hand and I'm like, you get in there. Let me take this
Yeah.
picture with you and the kids because the moms are never in the picture,
Yeah.
they're always
Yes,
taking the
that's
pictures.
true.
And so
Yeah.
I'm like, this is my moral imperative, to do that. And I brought these home from last night.
I can't. Is that the ones you sent me last night?
No, this one is me and my mama.
Yeah.
Can you see what it is?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, you're in a wagon, right?
yeah.
Mom's got brown hair.
Yes. And when I was a baby.
Yeah.
And these
Yeah,
ones, like,
those are
I'd never
sweet.
seen these before. And there's like,
Mhm.
so I collect them. I have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, and that's the whole other thing. Like, I'm telling this little girl,
Yeah.
Yes.
it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to be okay. And I'm like
Yeah.
holding her in my heart, you know?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is going to be okay. I think that's the other thing, is that it's just the healing power of time, of God, of,
Talking
that's
things
what I
out.
keep hoping for with
Yeah.
my girls, is that, because there's things that need to be healed that we're still struggling with
Of course.
to this day, that
Yeah.
are not where I want them to be. And my hope is that we're going to get through that. And that's what I hope, this does. Like I said, last week was just a
Yeah.
huge revelation. Just talking with
Yeah.
Riri for 1 minute, we both were just like, I'm so sorry I did that to you, because it wasn't intentional. It wasn't mean.
I didn't
but She
know.
immediately started tearing up because it just hit me like a bolt. Oh, you didn't even want that, And I
Yeah.
never thought to ask you, because that was about me throwing a party for you,
Yeah.
It was me. And that's what I hope that this can do, is that it can be that outlet and that thing for people to either experience or hear it, and just to have grace for your mother, because I know nothing in my mom's heart was ever vindictive or mean.
No.
I hear some people talk about their mothers, and their mothers are a hot freaking mess.
Yeah.
Just mean and ugly and hateful women who were hurt, and who in turn hurt.
Yeah.
Nothing she ever did or chose was out of meanness or
Not even the
vindictive.
chicken. Not even the
Not even
chicken
the
leg.
chicken. Listen, I took the chicken, was my fault, lady. I took responsibility for the chicken. Okay. But none of it was ever mean or vindictive. It's half of it was, it's what she knew. So she passed on what she knew.
Yeah.
And she did her best. Like, she just made the decisions. That's what I can't get Pride to understand, is that you understand that at your age, where you're thinking about, where am I going to have dinner? What am I going to work? This, that. I was 25, managing 3 kids and a father-in-law, and a new marriage and an ex-husband. And, no, my decisions weren't all great, and they weren't perfect, but they were never intended to hurt you. And so I think when you can get on that side of it, you can start going, okay, God, we can stop being hurt by this. I'm just going to stop being mad about this, or stop choosing to waller in this. The same thing was the relationship with the girl's dad. It was the same hurts, the same brokenheartedness, the same rejection. And it's probably only been in the last 4 or 5 years that I've just been like, I'm just not going to be hurt by that anymore. I do not care, because I'm fine. Like, I'm fine like I am. You didn't want to be with me? That's cool, man. Cool.
And I think
Because
part
I got
of
a guy that does.
it's part of the goal
I
too.
got somebody else who does.
Yeah.
He always
Yeah.
does,
Yeah.
And I
and
said
he's
this.
wonderful. And
Sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I
You're
think
laughing.
I said this a lot, like on my TikToks about my weight loss, because talk people won't know that. But one of the things you have to have, not only is learning to have grace for other people, is to have grace for yourself.
For yourself.
That
Yes.
we are
Yeah.
imperfect. We are human. We're gonna screw up, and you have to have grace for yourself. You have to learn to not only forgive other people, but forgive yourself, and realize that we're not always gonna get it right, and that is okay. Because at the end of the day, 90% of these decisions that we make and have consequences, they don't actually kill you. They will actually kill the people you're worried about. So I think learning to learn through this process to have grace for ourselves as we learn more and more about who we are as mothers and wives and women and whatever. We're not going to get it right. We're going to screw
that's
it
okay.
up.
Learning experience.
Yeah.
And that's
And
okay.
it is okay. It's fine. We're fine.
We're
It's
all
fine.
fine.
We are. We're fine.
That's
That's
how
the name of
Mom
this
said,
one.
joke.
That's the name of this episode. Is we're
It's like,
all
we're fine. We're fine.
We all good.
We're fine. We're fine.
Uh,
I mean, we've been talking for 3 hours and 8 minutes. I'm hungry, but we're fine. It's time for second dinner at this point.
God, we haven't come this far to only come this far. right?
Yeah.
That's
That's
good.
it.
That's
That's
right.
We're
It's-
okay. We're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully
Yeah. And that
somebody
doesn't
else
mean
will hear it and be like, oh, they're real screwed up. I could be way worse.
So
Yeah,
when
I
in
really
At least
am
we're screwed up
fine.
together. At least
I
we're
know,
screwed
right?
up together.
That's true. Yes.
We don't even have to
yes.
ask questions. We get together, we see the screwed up, and we're like, we've been there. It's fine.
Yeah, y'all funny. Yeah.
that's what we said. There's
Very
just
emotional.
enough trauma to keep us funny.
Yeah.
'Cause otherwise we'd be boring.
That's right. Well, we thank you, Patsy and Alisha. We had a
Yes.
great time, girls.
Yes.
Oh, I had a
Yes.
great time
Thanks for
too.
inviting
Oh my
us.
gosh.
Talk to y'all.
Oh, absolutely,
It
girl.
meant so much. Meant so much.
It does.
All right, guys. Well, thank you. That's going to be our wrap up for this evening on this episode of The Mother You Know, The Woman You Don't. Be sure to come back next week for more. Like us on our social media, go to our website, all that good stuff. And again, want to give a special thank you to American Swindle for letting us use their music. Their song is Medicate. You can find that on iTunes or Spotify, wherever. Not Shopify. Spotify, wherever you listen to your music. So thank you guys for letting us use your music. Thank you, Aunt Patsy and Alisha, for joining us this week. And we will be back next week. So thank you guys. And we will talk to you soon.